Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity. Today I thought it would be fun to do a little chit chat, get ready with me, and just put on my makeup and share with you guys my birth story for my second son, Gideon. I know a lot of you already know, but I just had a little boy back the 29th of December, right before the end of the year. But I just really wanted to put on some makeup today, and I thought it'd be fun to just kind of share with you guys my birth story and kind of how it all went down. And yeah, so if that at all sounds interesting to you, just keep on watching and let's put some makeup on this face. Also, I do want to note that I'm not going to be really showing many of the products. I am going to be using the new Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette for my eyes, but everything else I'm not sure if I'll remember to actually show y'all, just because this is more of a, sharing with you guys my birth story for Gideon. So if you're curious about what I used, I will have everything linked down in the description box. So yeah, let's just get right in. My first daughter, Olivia, I was very late with her. I think I ended up being 9 days late. Had to go in and get induced, and she was over 10 pounds when she came out. So she was a big baby, and with those concerns, and I tore really bad when I had her. So with those concerns, I really wanted to kind of avoid tearing if at all possible and avoid going so late and carrying such a heavy baby. So for Gideon's delivery, we decided to go in and get induced early, and my due date was New Year's Eve. My doctor had said I could go up to like a week early inducing to see if that would help them be smaller, but with Christmas right around the corner, my mom and sisters were coming up. My mom was always helps me with, she helped me with my first daughter, delivering her, and I wanted her at this birth. And then two of my my younger sisters wanted to be at the delivery. So we had to coordinate plans. So I ended up saying like, okay, let's have this baby the 29th of December. And so that's the date we set it for. I had to go in early the night before to kind of set everything up and get things going. So Thursday night, the 28th, I went in with my mom actually. My husband stayed here with my daughter to try to kind of give her a normal routine for bedtime so she didn't miss me as much. But my mom and I went down to the hospital and got all checked in, and then after my daughter went to sleep, my husband came down to the hospital, and then they kind of traded places and my mom came back to the house. So yeah, my husband slept with me at the hospital that night, and the doctors didn't want to start anything big because it was at night. So they actually stuck what is called a Foley ball in my cervix. If you're not aware, which I really don't know a whole lot about it, but I guess a Foley ball is something they use like a catheter or something like that. I don't know. It's this little ball that they can fill with like saline, and they put it in your cervix and inflate it, and it kind of just stretches the cervix and can have the potential to kickstart contractions and kind of kick you into labor without having to use, Pitocin and whatnot. So they wanted to try me on that for a couple hours, and I think they put the Foley ball in around like 8 or 9, and then just inflated that, and I was good to go for the night. I walked around a little bit. The Foley ball is just, besides being annoying, it kind of causes you to feel really crampy, like your period's about to start, so that was a lot of fun. But so I walked around a little bit and then just decided to try to get as much sleep as I could. And so I think around 9 or 10 I tried to sleep. But of course when you're in the hospital, they're always coming in and checking on you and stuff like that. It was kind of hard to sleep, but my husband didn't have that problem getting some sleep. He can pretty much conk out anywhere. But yeah, so they were coming in and checking on me, and I was very anemic for this pregnancy. Towards the end, every time they checked my blood, I was pretty darn low, and then at the very end when I went to go deliver, I was like dangerously low, or almost at the threshold where they would give you a blood transfusion. So there was a bit of a concern with that they were keeping an eye on. But when they came in at, I want to say around midnight or so, my blood pressure was actually really low, and the baby's blood pressure, Gideon's blood pressure, or something with the baby, was also very low. And so kind of gave the doctor or the nurses a bit of a scare. Honestly, I wasn't too worried, because like they came in and checked me and they were like, can you breathe okay? Like, do you feel tired, dizzy? And I was like, nope, I feel fine. But whatever stats they were reading from like the blood pressure cuff and the monitor on Gideon was concerning them. So they ended up having me like roll to a different side and have to do like the breathing mask or whatever for a little bit, just to see if they could get the baby's heart rate and my blood pressure, I think it was a heart rate, back up. And so did that. I think that was around like 1 at night. So I'm like trying to sleep and then all this is happening and whatnot. But do that for like, I don't know, 30 minutes or whatever. They gave me some fluids and stuff. And once all the fluids were gone, they were like, okay, baby's heart, your blood pressure's back up. Baby's heart rate sounds good. Everything looks good. Carry on. And so we, tried to get back to sleep. But then they came in not too long after that, I feel like, maybe an hour later, and said that the doctor had wanted to kind of pull on the Foley ball to see if it could come out, because if it slides out, that kind of tells you that the cervix is opening up. So she did give it a little tug and it came right out. So I think they said that I was like a 3 or a 4, I forget. And so that was good. My cervix was opening up, thinning out. So at that time they were like, okay, we're going to start Pitocin just to get things going, and hopefully you can still sleep, but just to kind of ripen things up and get it ready for the morning. So they started that. I want to say, what was it around? It was like 1 or so, and got that going. And thankfully I still got some sleep, which is nice because I really hadn't gotten any sleep before that with all the interruptions and whatnot, and just, trying to settle down. It's always hard for me to go to sleep anyway. But I was able to sleep through the contractions, and they weren't that bad. I dozed on and off until about 6 or so. My doctor who delivered my son came in and was making the rounds in the hospital. I want to say like 7 or 8, and she wanted to know if I wanted to break my water. Now with Olivia, my first child's delivery, I was also induced, as I said, with Pitocin, and she also broke my water, but I didn't know, and she broke my water in the morning to kind of speed things along, and I didn't know at the time, but the hospital that I gave birth for my first daughter didn't allow you to get in a hot tub like they have the birthing tub. Didn't allow you to get into that if your water was broke. So and that really really bummed me out when I was delivering Olivia, because I wanted to try the the birthing pool. So anyway, when she came around and asked, I was just like hemming and hawing, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't mind her breaking my water, but I really wanted to be able to try the hot tub for my second delivery. Oh, I got a black mark on my head. So I was hemming and hawing, and then the doctor was like, well, I'm pretty sure you can get into the hot tub if your water's broke. I think this hospital allows it. And so I was like, oh really? Like, check on that, and if so, like, you can break my water. So she double checked on it, and sure enough, they're like, oh yep, you can get in the birthing pool even if your water's broke. So I was like, okay, let's break my water. So I think that was like at 8 or so, they broke my water. Yeah, I should probably have said this in the beginning, but in preparing to deliver my first child, I did what is called the Bradley method. I kind of went through that class to prepare myself for delivery, since it's my first daughter. I didn't know anything I was getting into, and I really wanted some kind of guidance and preparation just to know what to expect. So I did the Bradley method, and the reason I did it was because my mom, she had 10 of us. There are 10 of us total, so I really trust my mom when it comes to birthing. But she did it for the last 5 or so, highly recommended it to me, and then my older sister had used it for all 3 of her kids. She highly recommended it, so yeah, I also highly recommend the Bradley method. And if you're not aware, like, I can leave a link down below to more information on what the Bradley method is, but if you are wanting to give birth and trying to go natural, or just wanting to give birth and be informed on everything that goes on, both in the pregnancy phase of growing a child, but then also when it comes time to deliver, they're very good at informing the mother of what exactly happens, what your body does, what to expect, and then even what to expect and prepare for afterwards. It was really, really wonderful. But anyway, yeah, I can leave it linked down below. But so I did the Bradley method, and with my first daughter, my first delivery, I was induced, as I said, and I didn't do any kind of epidural for her delivery. Whew. She was big, and I tore it. The aftermath of delivering her was very, very rough. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be that rough. But anyway, so for this delivery, that was one of the reasons we went in early, to try to make sure he was a bit smaller, more manageable for me. But yeah, I also wanted to try to do it without an epidural, and you know, just Pitocin is the only medication I had. But I wanted to try to do it without an epidural. That was my goal. And that's one of the things that the Bradley method really informs you of. It just kind of teaches you how to relax and let your body do the work, because you know, one of the things they always taught in the class and told you is that if you did absolutely nothing, your body would deliver this baby. Like, you don't need to put any effort really into delivering, because your body is made and programmed really to deliver this. Even if you aren't doing anything or fighting against it, your body's still going to deliver this baby. So it really just focuses on teaching you to relax and let your body, you know, do its thing, and just try your best not to fight against what your body is working towards. So anyway, that's a little spiel on the Bradley method. I highly recommend it. And also another thing with the Bradley method is it teaches you, not only you, what to expect and what not for the delivery, but it teaches your husband how to help you and coach you through the whole process of labor and delivery, which is absolutely awesome. My husband read one of the books, and he, especially after the my first daughter, he became a firm believer in the Bradley method. But yeah, so I'll leave some books down below, the ones he read and whatnot. So anyway, where was I? I think I had broke my water. And then once your water breaks, that water acts as a, if you've never delivered, that water acts as a barrier between the baby's head and your bones down there. So labor gets real when you don't have that bag of water there kind of acting as a cushion. So once she broke it, my contractions really started to get a lot more intense. I really needed my husband to give me that counter pressure at the back of my hips to kind of help deal with the intensity of the pain and whatnot as the contractions came. And with Pitocin, if you don't know, I think the contractions were coming every 3 minutes at the longest, but I feel like it was pretty consistently every 2 minutes since like my water broke until I delivered my son, and he came at 1:30 or 1:18 in the afternoon. So yeah, they started coming a lot more intense once my water broke, and I want to say I just focused on, I used the birthing ball a lot and just rocked on it or just leaned over the bed and, you know, used my hands to support myself, and you did that to deal with the contractions as they came. And I want to say I did that for maybe an hour, and during that time also my mom came up to the hospital to be with me, and my 2 younger sisters who are, quiz time, 17 and 15. They both came to the hospital. They'd never been at a birth. They asked me if they could be at mine, so I thought that was pretty cool that they got to come. And so yeah, they arrived. An hour or so went by, and I was like, okay, I want the birthing. I want the pool. I want the birthing tub. Okay, right now I am going to stop and put on some wings and mascara, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I am back, but slight change of plans because the little man woke up. So skipped the eyeliner, and I just put on mascara and did my brows while I was feeding him. So if anything looks a little wonky, it's because I had to do it with my left hand, and I'm not left-handed while I was feeding him. So that was interesting. But anyway, yeah, I think this is good for the eyes for now. Let's back up and do the face. I was telling y'all about asking to go in the tub. And I want to say I labored outside the tub, like just against the bed and on the birthing ball for an hour, maybe 2. I think it was only like an hour and a half or so. And then I went in the tub, and oh my goodness, it was amazing. My biggest recommendation, if you can go into a birthing tub, do it, because it made a night and day difference. Because before that, my back pain was getting really intense, like because Gideon was getting lower into my cervix, and it's just really intense pain across the back, your lower back, and it was getting really bad. And my husband was giving me counter pressure, but even like with as much as he could give me, it was getting bad. But the moment I stepped like in the pool and just like relaxed into that hot water, I went through the contractions, and they were still really intense and all that, but they were more bearable in that back lower region. It wasn't quite as intense and like take your breath away painful. So it was night and day difference once I got into the tub. So yeah, then I got into the tub, and I want to say I was there, oh my goodness, 2-3 hours. I spent most of the time in the tub, and my husband loved it because he didn't have to give that counter pressure. So his poor arms got a break from trying to squeeze my waist or my hips whatever. But yeah, I got into the tub and I just kind of relaxed over the side of the hot, it was like a blow up tub. This one was like a little inflatable one that they brought into the room, and it was amazing. And so yeah, I spent the most of my labor portion from that point on. I just stayed in the tub, and I think once I got into the tub, they took me off the Pitocin because my belly was so large and round. It was really hard to keep the monitors, like to keep track of the baby's heartbeat and stuff. It was really hard to keep it on, and they don't like to give you Pitocin if they can't keep track of the baby, just in case. So yeah, once I got in the hot tub, they took me off Pitocin, but the contractions were still coming really strong. So I was thankful for that, because I was kind of worried that once I got in the hot tub, because the heat can sometimes slow down labor. But nope, that wasn't the case. I want to say they kept coming every 2-3 minutes, and my husband just was on the outside of the pool kind of helping talk me through, relaxing through each of the contractions, and just you know, letting go and letting the contractions do what it had to do. And yeah, did that for a couple hours. Around 12 or so, the contractions started getting a lot more intense, to the point where it was really hard for me to try to relax through them. And so all the nurses and stuff were like, okay, she's getting close. You get that urge, like almost like you have to go to the bathroom. And they were like, if you start feeling that, make sure you tell us, because you need to get out of the tub before you deliver that baby. And so yeah, as the contractions came on, the last couple, I was like, okay, like I felt that urge to, you know, to bear down. And so they're like, okay, let's get you out of the tub, which was the worst part. I hated getting out of the tub. The tub felt so good. And then when you get out of the tub, you're just cold. And so your body just wants to contract. And then, you know, with contractions coming on, the last thing you want to do is contract. So it was hard. I think I was in transition when I got out of the tub, meaning that like my body was going from, you know, contractions to try to open things up to like, okay, we're ready to push this baby out. And so like I went through a little bit of a freak out stage, which is like typical of transitions. Usually when a woman goes through transition, she has this freak out stage, and I was just like crying and trying to calm, you know, to breathe through the contractions. And I was like looking at my husband, just like, you know, these are coming out so hard and so intense. I was having the hardest time relaxing through the contractions. I just kept wanting to tense up. And then after a couple contractions of coming out, I wanted to like bear down, and they were like telling me, you know, don't push, even though like my body was wanting to. So yeah, that was really hard. And that usually is another sign that you're going through transition, when your body wants to bear down on its own, even though you're doing everything you can not to, because it's really not good to try to push before your body, your cervix is ready, because you can inflame it, and that can lead to the baby not being able to come out because your cervix are all inflamed, and then a C-section. And I didn't really want to have a C-section. So anyway, all that to say, got out of the tub, started going through transition, was having a really hard time not pushing. I really had to not fight, but like really talk myself and really try to control my body and keep it from pushing, because my body kept wanting to push of its own accord. Yeah, I got to that point where I was just really fighting to not push, and so they called the doctor to come on in, and what felt like an eternity later, it felt like it took her so long to come in. Probably was just like 5-10 minutes, but it was several contractions later when she finally came in, and I was just like, yes, now can I push? And she checked me, and I think I was at a really good 9. I don't even know, like when you're in that, by the time you get there, I wasn't really focusing on much. I was just focusing on when she said, okay, like we're gonna push, and like I could hear all the nurses bringing everything into the room, and you could hear them like putting the bed down to get ready to deliver. I was like, okay, it's pushing time. Like this is what I want to do. So yeah, at that point they started getting the bed ready, bringing everything into the room. The doctor got all suited up, and then once they were all ready, you know, they got the bed ready, and they're like, okay, next contraction, Katie, push it, you know, when you feel the urge, and push with the contraction. And so I want to say I pushed 3 or 4 times. I didn't push long. I didn't push long with my first daughter either. She came very quickly, and Gideon did as well. But I don't know, I pushed like 3-4 contractions, and then he came. So yeah, he came out pretty quick, pretty easily. all things considered. My first daughter, Olivia, got stuck when she was coming out because she was quite large and whatnot, but he didn't get stuck. He came out no problem, and I didn't tear too much, which was my biggest like hope and desire throughout the whole delivery. But yeah, I really didn't tear that much. I think I had a teeny tiny tear that required like two stitches tops, which still kind of stinks because I still had to numb you with that freaking huge needle that hurts like heck. But considering that my first daughter, I think she spent like over 30 minutes stitching me up. Like, that's how bad I tore with her. 2 stitches was nothing. I told you my mom and 2 sisters were there, and when he came, Gideon came, my mom caught him. The doctor let her come and grab him as he was coming out, and so she caught him and brought him up and put him on my chest. And then once he was out for a little while and they wanted to cut the cord, my younger sister, who's 17, Julia, got to cut the cord. So that was really cool. Yep, so he came out and he was 8 pounds exactly, which was amazing because he was a lot less than his sister, which was what we were wanting. So yeah, I was really excited that I didn't tear. I didn't get an epidural. So because I didn't tear that badly as with my first daughter, because I didn't get an epidural, I was on my feet and feeling more normal a lot quicker. I also, because of the because I was so anemic, I had problems clotting. So after the delivery, I had a lot of, like, my blood wasn't clotting. So they had to give me, I think they continued to give me Pitocin to make my uterus contract and continue contracting so that my blood would clot. So that wasn't a whole lot of fun, but oh well. Yeah, a couple hours later, my husband went with the baby, and then they took me up to my room. And that night, so I had him, I forget if I mentioned, but I had him at like 1:20 in the afternoon. So once we were settled in my room, my mom and sisters came back up to the house and got all my other sisters and my daughter, Olivia, and brought him down to the hospital. And it was really cool. That's the picture I posted on, I think, all my socials when he came to let you know that I was taking a break. It was a picture of her, Olivia, and Gideon. And she was really cool. Like, she took a little while. Like, we had to explain to her, like, baby used to be in mommy's tummy, now he's here, kind of walk through all the process. And of course I still had, like, you know, the needle in my arm for fluids and Pitocin and all that. So she was like, oh, you know, mom's got boo-boos. So lots of talking and whatnot, but overall she was super excited to meet her brother. Yeah, that is my birth story. And it went a lot smoother than Olivia's birth story. After I had Olivia, you know, 2 years ago, I had wanted to write her birth story on my blog, but I felt like it just wasn't the right area to do it because my blog is, you know, I see as more professional and beauty focused. And I really regret not sharing her story before. Yeah, I think I'm done, and he's crying, so let me go get him. Yeah, that wraps up my little chit chat get ready with me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'm sorry if this makeup look looks atrocious or if I forgot like a really obvious step to my makeup routine. It was really difficult to tell a story while doing my makeup. I really wasn't focused on my makeup much at all, so hope you still enjoyed how it turned out. I really like the green in here and how my eyes turned out. I wish I had time to do a wing, but that's about it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing little Gideon. I'm sure you'll see more of him and Olivia in future videos. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I will see you very soon in my next video. Kiss you, bye.